Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tablet Talk, the show where we talk the tablets of law with some of your favorite legends from the Word of God and beyond. I'm your host, Moses. Now, let me set the scene, right? I'm walking down Mount Sinai. I got freshly chiseled tablets and a dream. But with this dream came hurdles. You know, we had all of this momentum, but we didn't know what came next. We didn't even know where to start. This needed to get into the hands of every single Israelite, but how? Our guests today are two people who were absolutely pivotal in making the Ten Commandments a household name. Beige, Fleur, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I've been the marketing and communications director for the Israelites for a little over a year now.
We were pretty much asking everyone, hey guys, we know that you're doing things a certain way right now, but we need you to change everything about that forever.
Exactly. We needed all Israelites on board all at the same time. And this campaign was our Goliath.
I mean, you swooped in. Aaron and her, you know, they had my arms, but you had my back. And I got to worry about just doing the ministry, and she was getting the message to our people.
Oh, and we had no budget post Golden Calf. So we partnered with the Tabernacle for a giveaway that included 2 tickets to the opening of the Tabernacle and a year's supply of manna flakes. They just had to share and like the post of the 10 Commandments and follow you on Sinaigram. And when I tell you we were from 4 followers to 2 million in 2 days, we're taking this campaign to the next level. And that was all my baby girl, Fleur.
Oh my gosh, stop. You know, it seems so obvious to me that we were spending so much time and effort into people being able to see the 10 Commandments, but on a whole new level, we needed them to hear the 10 Commandments, you know? And so it came to me that we should start a podcast. And oh my gosh, I am so sorry, Miss Beige. I am totally rambling.
Oh, sweetie, never ever apologize for being the smartest person in the room. So with this momentum, Moses, I'm so excited to announce our Put God First initiative. And our launch date, it's actually the day after Passover, so stay tuned.
Oh, we will. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you tune in next week. And also thank you to the amazing people over at Lots Spice for sponsoring this video. Lots Spice, once you try Lots, you never turn back. Enter code Exodus20 for 20% off your first order of salt. That is all the time we've got, folks. Make sure you think tablet thoughts, and we will see you next week on Tablet Talk.
So fun. I know that they've been working tirelessly on that. It's super awesome. I hope that you've been educated this morning already. I mean, man. But let's really think about it. The Israelites were just finally free from slavery. And if you look back and you think about why, God, why right now? I don't understand all of this, right? But what did God say? He said, be fruitful and multiply. Why? Because I want you to become a nation. I want you to become someone that people will listen to, someone that people will come alongside. And that's why Pharaoh enslaved them, because he was so afraid of what they might do. He was like, they're gonna overthrow me. I'm not gonna have any power. We need to make sure that they're slaves. We need to beat them down, right? But they were still fruitful and multiplied. And finally, Moses steps in and sets the people free. And they journey across the Red Sea. And what does Moses do? He goes up to the mountain, Mount Sinai, and receives the words from God. 10 Commandments is just the words of God. He literally wrote them in stone. And he comes down from the mountain, and what are the people? The people lost their minds. They're like, we didn't know if you were coming back. We're making idols and doing all this crazy stuff. They had lost it. And he presents them with these 10 Commandments. And oftentimes in the church, we think that it's gotta be these rules of we gotta follow them. If you wanna love God, you gotta follow the 10 Commandments. If you wanna be a Christian, make sure you're following the 10 Commandments. And if you want to have a wife, no one ever is you got to make sure you love her. Well, I mean, that's just implied, right? If you want to marry someone, you better love them, right? It's not we got married, now we have to love each other. Oh, right? No, it's a guide, right? And so the 10 Commandments are really there to help us deepen our relationship with God. It's like a roadmap. God created all of us in this world that we live in, and he's like, hey, you want to know some of the secrets, some of the inside scoop on Not only how to live life and live together, but also how to get close to me. And so the first 4 commandments focus on our relationship with God. If you want to just look at it and be like, oh, wow, I never thought of that. That makes sense. And then the last 6 focus on our relationship with others, right? Don't kill, don't steal, right? And how we treat others reflects how we relate to God, because if we truly love God, we will also love our neighbors, right? And if you open your Bibles today in Exodus chapter 20, this is where I want to start, specifically where God proclaims the 10 Commandments. He spoke all of these words, verse 1. Verse 2, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. See, up till this point, the Israelites had just followed God. And yes, there were a lot of things that happened, but this is like a pivotal moment. For those of you that don't know, Exodus means like immigration, like exit, like leave, like this is the exiting of God's people, Exodus. I never knew that, sorry. Grew up in church, didn't know that, okay? Anyways, thought that was really cool. I was like, oh, hey, it's the whole book about the exit. Like, oh, wow, all right. And this is really the start of the nation of Israel. And God lays the foundation and he says, this is how I want my people to operate. But it's on a foundation of relationship. It has to be. In ancient times for the Jews, worshiping other gods was like declaring war on Jehovah, okay? While the Egyptians who enslaved the Israelites worshiped hundreds of gods, the Israelites relied on one, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And when we depend on anything else or anyone else other than God, we're letting that thing or that person take the place that's supposed to be designated for God. It's crucial to remember that God alone should hold the number 1 spot in our lives. He alone should be exalted. It reminds me of that song we used to sing Sunday night church. How many of you guys were there? Come on, I exalt thee. It starts out, would you guys sing with me? For thou, O Lord, art high above all the earth. Good job, you guys are awesome. Thou art exalted far above all God. Sing that chorus, I exalt thee. And I exalt thee, and I exalt thee. One more time. And I exalt thee, oh Lord. That's from Psalms 97. You are most high over all the earth. You are exalted far above all gods. It's a beautiful reminder that our God is supreme and deserves our highest praise and devotion. It makes sense when you look at the Israelites hanging out with all the Egyptians for all those years, that they might get confused and they might kind of take some of the traditions that they had. Like, oh, that's a good idea. You got a God when you're sad. You got a God when you're like all these things, right? And God is saying, no. I need to be exalted high above. Not like close. Not like kind of like, well, it's clear you're number 1, but like we have a number 2. No. High above. God needs to be number 1 in our lives from the time that we wake up to the time we go to bed and everything in between, right? If you grew up in Israel as a Jew, you would have been taught as soon as you could say your first words, the Shema. And you would recite it every morning. Growing up in a Christian school, I spent 12 years of my life at a Christian school. It was actually a Baptist, like Lakewood kind of. And there was one teacher, he taught math. He had a ferret, it was kind of cool. Anyways, random fact. He was Jewish, he had a Jewish background. And so I remember vividly the morning when he taught us the Shema. And he was like, this is something that they taught everyone at a very young age, and they recited it every morning and every night. And he taught us, he said, Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. And I remember him saying, you got to spit a little when you say it, Ahad. And it just means this, it says, Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. Straight from Deuteronomy 6, 4 through 5. And it goes on, it says, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, and with all your might. We always continue on, right? And your neighbor as yourself. But that's what the Jews did every single morning and every single night. I grew up in a Christian home, and we always had the radio playing. Whenever we would walk into the kitchen, Christian radio was always playing. Yep, we're one of those families, I'm sorry. But I never realized how crucial that was to my mood, to everything, like my mind shift, until I moved out. And I didn't have that. Now, obviously it wasn't always playing, okay? But like 90% of the time, 88.3, not because in Minnesota, but it was a different one. But like that was playing, okay? So just imagine that. I mean, you can come home upset and mad and you just hear like, hey, welcome, you know? And you're just like, oh man, this is so great. Like, thank you, Lord, right? It just realigns your focus on what's number one. That's what the Shema did. That's what the Jews did at a very, very young age. They were taught every morning and every night. I don't know about you guys. How many of you guys do your quiet time in the morning? How many of you guys do your quiet time at night? How many of you do it both? Ooh, some of you. Let's go. I want to challenge you, maybe for a week, maybe forever, to try doing your quiet time in the morning and at night. See if that changes things. See if that's like, whoa, that like recalibrates everything. I don't know. Give it a shot. But let's keep God number one in every area of our lives. So in the church though, I remember growing up and it was almost like, I remember the 10 Commandments were like a big thing and they were removing them from the school and we were angry as a church. And I was like, I don't know why we're upset about this, but like, yeah, they should be in the schools. I don't know. Anyways, and I remember kind of like feeling like if you disobey one of the 10 Commandments, you can't go to heaven. Like, it's just like one of those things, right? And I was just like, I just feel like you gotta kind of wanna do it, right? Like, I don't know. And so if you turn to Matthew 22, 36 through 40, they're asking Jesus this question. Because like, Jesus, there's all these laws that we have. The Pharisees had written all of these extra ones, right? And so, teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? And Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. That's the Shema, Deuteronomy, right there. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. And this is the key right here. Jesus says, all of the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. Everything can be summarized. All of the law, it hangs on the fact that you love God and love people. And so today I want to challenge you to look at the 10 Commandments, not as just this like, you got to follow them, right? But as a way to deepen our relationship with God and honor him in all that we do. God created the world, so he knows the best way for us to live. How many of you desire to honor God with our lives, right? But we should also desire a deep relationship with God. I think a lot of us want to go into the wilderness with God, right? Like, I just want to go deep with God. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't want to go deep into the woods without a map or a guide, right? Like that just sounds, at least my compass, right? And I know where the river is always south. Anyways, but we need a guide, and this is the guide, right? The scriptures are the guide. But when God formed the nation of Israel, he started with the 10 Commandments. My seniors in the room that are graduating, that are moving, transitioning, you're changing, everything is changing. This is crucial. That not that you have to follow this, but that you want to, right? Because we all have those rules that our parents had. We were like, I don't know why I have to take the trash out every day, right? And then we get our own house and we're like, oh, I love that. This is just something I do every day. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for teaching me how to do this, right? It should be something, though, that we want to do. As a parent, we all have rules and expectations in our house, right? And seniors, I'm sure you're like, finally, I'm gonna get some freedom from the rules that are over me. I don't, maybe you don't think that, but as a dad, just confession time, I have made my kids cry this month. And I actually made my kids cry today. So I just want to kind of go through those with you. Just kind of help me feel a little bit better today, okay? Would you go with me? 8:30 is bedtime, okay? And so there was a night where we were having fun together, and all of a sudden 8:30 came, and 8:35, and I'm the fun dad. We got to have fun. We're throwing them around. It's just like a great night, right? And I'm like, hey guys, we need to go upstairs and brush our teeth, right? Like you try real nice and kind of ease into that, right? It's bedtime. No, like just freaking out, right? Just like, why, Dad? Like we're having fun. You just started throwing me. Like I only got thrown one time, right? Okay, sorry, my kids aren't in here, right? They're amazing. I love them. And so my heart breaks, right? But I'm like, I know what I'm leaving Mom with tomorrow morning if you don't go to bed when you're supposed to go to bed, right? And so I have to enforce that. And I say, nope, we're going upstairs, we're brushing our teeth. And you as parents know, and you've experienced, if you let it slide one time, the whining gets longer the next time. And then it gets longer because it worked. It worked. They let me have the cookie. I just had to whine for 15 minutes. They write it down in their journals and they talk it to each other. And they say, hey, Mom's breaking point is at 15.3 seconds. You just got to cry really loudly so the neighbors hear for 15 seconds. No. Seriously, I think it's the thing. The other night, we had dinner and my wife made a new meal. That's how you know it's gonna be a good one, right? She places it down and I'm like, wow, honey, this looks amazing. Every other kid's like, what is this? There's like green things in there, right? They didn't say those exact words, but that's pretty much what they were saying. They were freaking out and I said, you guys gotta eat one bite. We gotta eat one bite, right? Like just exploded, right? I made them cry. They had to eat. They had to try it. We were camping at Chain of Lakes. First time, it's amazing. Can't wait to go back. We had a great time, right? We had a plan to go hiking. And so the morning, everything went great. Everything was fine. We ate breakfast together. And then they were playing out on the playground and just having a blast, right? And then we started packing to go hiking. And then we laid out the map and Derek showed us where we were gonna go and you could see the fear set in. And our littlest, well not littlest, but our 6-year-old Iris, she was like, I don't wanna go, Dad. There's bugs out there. I don't remember exactly what she said, but she was freaking out. And I was like, it's okay, I'll hold your hand, let's go, it's fine. So we started walking and she was holding my hand and everyone was getting in front of us and we were getting farther away and finally we got to the spot in the trail where it narrows and woods begins, right? There's only one path. We're definitely not going rogue here. We're going down this one itty bitty path, right? And that was the moment where she was just like, I don't think I want to do this, Dad. This isn't fun. This is not going to be fun. This is going to be horrible. And you're punished. And you're a mean dad, right? Cassie and I both actually got called one time because we were both we're together, right? We get the nod, mom and dad nod, we're not backing down. You're not backing down. I'm not backing down. Literally, she was like, I want a different mommy and daddy, just, you have been there, right? If you have kids, we're fighting, honey, this is right. We did the right thing, right? Should we call mom and dad to make sure this is the right? After 5 kids, that's the right call. They'll come back, it's fine. Anyways, 15 minutes later, she's running ahead of us. She's leading the pack, hanging out with the other girls, having an absolute blast, coming back, showing me things look at this stick, Dad, look at this rock, just an absolute blast, right? And we know as parents that the rules are not designed to hurt us. They're designed to protect us, right? Often we resist authority, much like my kids who didn't want to go to bed or eat their dinner or go on the walk, but it's a natural impulse to want to do things our way. To feel like they're trying to take control of us, right? But God needs to be on the throne. I want you to picture a throne and God is sitting on it. As a dad, oftentimes I can't sit down without a 2-year-old coming into my lap. But today I want to ask you, what is sitting on the lap of maybe where God should be number one? I'm not saying that he is number two, or number one, that God has moved to number two. I'm not saying that you're making it number one, but it kind of just comes up on God's lap. And God's like, whoa, what's this? You didn't even mean to. In every area of our life today, let's look and let's analyze and let's see, God, are you number one? Am I a mean dad because I set rules about bedtime? Absolutely not. These rules are about discipline, right? They're about nurturing good habits and health and responsibility. By guiding my kids in these ways, I'm helping them grow into strong individuals that will hopefully be very independent, right? Someday. I don't know when that will be. But by understanding and embracing God's guidance, we learn not to just follow rules, but to live in a way that brings honor to him. And then what do we get? Blessings. I love that song that we sang, right? I'm not singing for your blessings. I know that they're coming because of who you are. God, I know what you've done in the past, but that's not why I'm worshiping. Please don't think today, God, that I'm lifting my hands, worshiping you, wanting something from you, because you've already given me everything. In understanding that God's guidance is aimed at fostering our growth and success in that relationship, it becomes essential to examine our priorities, okay? So I just want today you to pull out your phone, okay? I know, not supposed to do this in church. It's okay, the pastor said to, so you can blame me, okay? Pull out your phone, I want you to unlock it, and I want you to tell me what apps are at the bottom. If you have an iPhone, okay, I want you to tell me, not obviously tell me, but I want you to tell me what apps are at the bottom. Now you can see here, because I'm the pastor today, I was preaching that the Bible is at the bottom here. So I had to move it for today. But if you slide, I'm just being honest, guys, I ain't gonna be lying to you. If you slide any of these over, the bottom 4 stay the same. And so I struggle to read my Bible on the phone, so I gotta have a paper Bible, but I do have the Bible app on there. And so today, this is my challenge. I want you to mix up your home screen. I want you to mix up all the apps. I know some of you are like, I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna ever be able to find anything, okay? But I wanna challenge you, if you're under the age of 30, to just move the apps. Everybody else, I just know, I respect you. I'm not gonna challenge you with that. You don't need any more challenging in your life, okay? But I did this the other day, okay? Because I knew I was gonna stand here in front of you guys and I needed to do what I'm asking you to do, okay? And I was so frustrated. I was like, you open the phone so many times subconsciously for no reason. You don't even need to. You're just bored. Your mind is bored, right? And I was like looking for something, but I didn't even know what I was looking for. I was like, oh my goodness, that's really bad. Thank you, God, for giving me this opportunity to realign my priorities, because I had no reason to open the phone. So God, I just want to give you honor and glory in this moment, because I don't need to be bored and go to this when I can go to you, right? And I can exalt you. So the first area that I believe that we struggle is maybe with politics, okay? As a youth pastor, I know here we go. You guys ready? It's easy, though, to let our American political preference overshadow our spiritual convictions. Yep. The U.S., we're only 33 million people, y'all. There's almost 8 billion people in the world. I'm sorry, but in the jungles of Africa, they do not care about who is the mayor of Allen County, right? Or Fort Wayne. They just don't. You could tell them and they'd be like, oh, okay, thank you, right? I don't know. I'm not saying that you shouldn't vote. You should. You definitely should. We should stand for what we believe in. But I'm just saying that it can't become number one. It can't even sit on the throne. You can't sit on the lap. No. Because I'm not necessarily really voting for the president. God already chose that. He knows, okay? And if he was worried about it, he'd let us know that he's worried about it, okay? But he's not, because he's got it all under control. And the last time I checked, he's still in control, right? So I might take some heat from that, but honestly, if our faith is in God, we have nothing to fear. We do what God asks us to do and make sure that he's number one on the throne. Second area that I believe we struggle with is with money. Matthew 6:24, no one can serve two masters. Either you will hate one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. It says it. I didn't say it first. Matthew did. All right. Did you know that scripture mentions over 2,000 times money? Jesus is saying you cannot serve both. But the problem is, right, we've heard it so many times, the more you acquire, the more you want, yet the more you have, the less satisfied you become. Without it, you might dream of wealth. And once you obtain it, you have the fear of losing it, right? This cycle can be endless and exhausting. So what does God teach us? What is the solution, God? He's got it right here. He says clearly, tithing. It serves as a practical discipline in this regard. It's not just about giving up, but like his priority. Okay, it's not just about giving, but about prioritizing God in our lives. Tithing, we remind ourselves every single week, all right, God, you're number one. All right, God, you're in control. God, I'm giving this to you. God, you have asked this of me, right? I'm realigning you back on the throne. You're number one. The last area that I believe that we struggle keeping God number one is self. I heard at one time a pastor declared from the pulpit that he was God. Whew. It was a stark reminder of how self-glorification can go to extremes, right? But often we might not say it so blatantly, but our actions can imply it, right? When we consistently place our needs and our desires above God's, our actions can imply a focus on self. When we consistently place our needs and desires above God's commandments, our priorities should be to serve and honor God, not ourselves, right? Exodus 23, thou shalt have no other gods before me. As the worship team comes out, I want to close with a story from a missionary in Thailand, Mark Dreen. He was a missionary for over 30 years. He's now the district director of a couple of countries. But he was meeting with a small group in Thailand that had decided they wanted to become Christians. Thailand is Buddhist. Everyone is a Buddhist. It's a Buddhist nation. And so they have so many things that from a very young age they learn and they add in. Things that bring them luck. Things that they go to and turn to when they build a whole new structure or when they are starting a business. There's just things that they were taught at a very, very young age that are totally fundamentally different than what we believe. And so he was asking them time and time again, trying to dig down into the real reason why they wanted to become Christians. Obviously we know the real reason, but he was like, I feel like there's another motive. And he kept asking them question after question. And pretty soon he realized that because of the great political and religious oppression that the Buddhist community had over them, they saw so much freedom in being a Christian. They're like, they're not going to require us to give so much. They're not going to require us all of this force. And Mark Doreen, he had this to say to them. He said, actually, it's probably going to cost you a whole lot more to follow Jesus. Because you're going to have to give up all of this. You're going to have to give up all the things that you think bring you luck and all of the things that you're focused on. And you're just going to have to focus on Jesus, making sure that he's on the throne. And they had a counter offer. Thought it was really interesting. I don't know if you guys have ever been street witnessing and you tell them about Jesus and they're like, well, is there like any way that we could do like a halvesy? But this is what they said. They came back with a counter offer. Teacher, we would like to become Christians, but we aren't ready at this time to become radical Christians. Is there an entry level that would not require us to promise all those things to God now? Mark says this, he says, perhaps we've been doing them a disservice when we tell people becoming a Christian is entirely free of charge. In truth, they must be willing to give up ownership of their lives to God, submitting to His free will and following His direction instead. That's expensive. Of course, placing their lives in God's loving, merciful, wise, and almighty hands brings the greatest of all rewards, right? But the key to the first commandment is being willing to give up ownership of our lives to God. Today, I want to ask again, is God number one in every area of your life? Is He on the throne? I want to close with this last section. Submission to Jesus is costly if He's truly in charge. But 1 Corinthians 6:19 and 20 says that you are not your own, for you were bought with a price. It's a free gift that you can accept, but you need to understand the weight of that decision. That you're saying, God, I want to give up my life to you. I want to trust you 100% with every area of my life. And if I take any of those areas back, God, I repent. I want to give them back to you. I've had to do that weekly, sometimes daily. That's okay. That's called the struggle. It says, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. I love the moment when Moses walks down the mountain with the tablets. And what are the people? The people are like, don't let God talk to us. Just you tell us what He said. The fear and the reverence that they had for the creator of the universe. God, you gotta be number one in our lives. Salvation is free in terms of its transforming effect, but receiving it demands total surrender. What if, guys, let's just think, what if we were a church that said, I want to be passionate about politics, but I never want it to be more important than God in my life? What if as a church we said, money, yeah, I love it, but I don't want to fear losing it. God, I want you to take everything that you deserve, everything that you've asked for. God, I want to give it to you. Not take it. It's the wrong word. You know what I meant. Think about it. What would change? What would God do through that? What if we as a church said no to ourselves? We denied ourselves and our desires for God every single day for His desires. We killed our desires, not just once a week on a Sunday morning at 10 and 12. But what if we did it every single day? God, not what I want, but what you want. God, not what I provide for my family, but what you can provide. God, only you can save America. Only you can save our city. Only you can save my neighbors, my friends, and my family. God, I want to follow you. I want to draw close to you in every area of my life. God, teach me your ways because they are higher.